All right, folks, the title of tonight's episode here, October 14th, is XRP Leverage Cleared. We're going to let folks get in here. Give me 1 minute. Wasn't able to schedule tonight's live show, so we're just flipping the switch and going live. I want to make sure that everybody is here and ready. We're going to share it out real quick. If you guys could do me a big favor and like the stream tonight, help us out by sharing it out far and wide, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. As we get started here tonight, I have one question for everybody, my non-scientific study, which the question is, what was the lowest you were able to buy XRP during the liquidation event on Friday, October 10th? And I'm curious which exchange and whether it was a limit or market order. What I am finding in this non-scientific study that I conducted earlier today is that most folks were not able to buy below $2 unless they had limit orders placed. So give me 1 second here. My apologies. Just letting my Discord group know that we are live right now. Like I said, I wasn't able to schedule the stream, so I'm just making sure that everybody has the links, knowing that we are live. If you could help us out by liking this one and sharing it out far and wide, we would greatly appreciate that. Now, right on into it, we have a lot to talk about. And so let me make sure that we're tapped in, and then we're going to set it off. My apologies for the technical difficulties here. Are live. If you could help us out by liking this one and sharing. Fantastic. Fantastic. And we're off to the races. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Here we go. So we are October 14th, just a few days after this liquidation event, still breaking it down, and we're going to get into that. But as we get started here tonight, this is what had the market rallying to start off the day. Jerome Powell giving a statement, and he says that we may be approaching the end of balance sheet contraction in the coming months. Right, so they had been doing quantitative tightening, so they were reducing their balance sheet, all of the bonds, treasuries that they're putting on their balance sheet to keep the whole system propped up. They'd been reducing that after it peaked out. The reverse repo was up at about 2.5 trillion, and it's now come back down here substantially. And so the reversal from quantitative tightening and reducing that balance sheet to ending that and then potentially flipping the switch and going back to quantitative easing. This is Zero Hedge commenting, retweeting somebody who said the Fed could end QT in the coming months. This is what turned up the market. Zero Hedge says, yeah, not only could they end quantitative tightening, they also could restart quantitative easing in the coming months. And that's the chart right there that I'm talking about. New York Fed reverse repo data. And these are billions here on the right side of this chart. You're looking at 2,500. That's 2.5 trillion. And so this had the markets back off to the races today after the tariff trade war spooked everybody. We get going. Jerome Powell gives us a little bit of courage. Looks like we're going to get more interest rate cuts and potentially ending quantitative tightening. And you know what that means on the flip side? Making that money printer go burr, adding more bonds to the balance sheet. But then President Trump put out a tweet and did what he does. The stock market just erased $450 billion in 7 minutes because President Trump threatened to start producing cooking oil in the United States of America. Folks, you cannot make this up. This is where we're at in this market. This environment for investing that's truly unprecedented. And if you are, listening to the traditional media and you've been missing out on this crypto opportunity, that's why you come to this channel, because we break down the current events, all of the financial markets, focusing in on crypto and how that we believe is one of the biggest opportunities, if not the biggest, and how to take advantage of this transfer of wealth that is definitely underway. We are not waiting for Congress to pass the bill, and we're not waiting for our financial advisor to give us a call. We've been front-running the suits. We've been front-running regulations. Congressman Troy Downey to introduce a bill that would cement President Trump's executive order allowing Bitcoin in 401ks into law. Now, I've been saying that the suits are getting ready to sell it with slideshow presentations. They're going to wrap these products in 1,000 different ways. and I'm going to play 2 clips. See, I could just set my show up here and run 30 minutes every day of the suits on Wall Street, and you can just see how giddy they are to sell cryptocurrency products, but also the investment into AI. And then I'm also going to play a clip from Franklin Templeton, CEO, and she's going to talk about alternative investments, which include cryptocurrency, precious metals, private equity, which is where we're moving into next, right? And some of you guys are already in it. I'm still kicking myself for not buying Ripple equity when I had a chance and a deal in front of me. And so you're going to listen to 2 clips here, but we're at a point here, and I want you guys to see this disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. And I was thinking about this out and about here today, running a couple errands, and I'm just thinking to myself, most people aren't even aware of what's the shift that's underway. They just have no idea. The average person is so caught up in their day-to-day, the current struggles that they have, and that's not even getting to the financial struggles that the Main Street American is feeling. And meanwhile, as I've been describing, the suits are determining which champagne to put on ice with the success of these ETFs and the parties that they're now having. Once again, for BlackRock, their assets under management crossed over 10 trillion a couple years ago. It's now over 12.5 trillion. And so we're going to start by playing a clip here of Larry Fink from BlackRock. And what you're going to see is him describing the AI investment opportunity. And what's so crazy about this, it's similar to crypto. There's so much investment pouring in, you almost know that not all of it's going to pan out or be sustainable or actually produce a ROI over the next decade, but we have to invest in it. Now, does that mean that we need to invest in all of these meme coins and crap coins? No. As Brad Garlinghouse says, 99% of crypto goes away. Is the AI space a bubble? Yes. Larry Fink does not deny it. He actually leans into it. And I about spit out my coffee as I was driving back home today, listening to this interview and hearing him explain how, people act like a bubble is a bad thing. These guys are ready to sell it. These guys are ready to juice it. While a lot of people are still in debating whether or not to allocate towards AI or crypto. And full disclosure, I don't have exposure to AI. This is a field and in a sector that I probably should be paying attention to, because we know it is going to be transformative. No doubt about that. But to succeed in AI, in the really, what is the next space race equivalent, you have to invest all these billions and trillions of dollars. And that's what President Trump is doing, and that's what Larry Fink is doing. So let's run the clip here. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Let's get it. Here it is, Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock.
Building all this out, this is the type of stuff that could power a 3% economy. If you look at the second quarter results, 3.8% GDP in the second quarter, 50% of that was CapEx on technology. You know what? But if you compare that to Europe or other places in the world, we're the only country that has this type of CapEx. That gives me confidence that we're going to win. And when I go around the world and talking about other economies, when I don't see that CapEx happening in their country, I worry about that future.
Well, we have the capital markets to support it, and I guess they don't. Larry, we'll always continue the conversation. Thanks, we hope as well, but appreciate your opinion.
So these guys are moving in regardless, right, of whether or not it's a bubble. Has it gone too far? Well, yeah, for some companies, sure. But you have to have exposure. And that's where we're at in the crypto space too. You know that it is the future. We're moving that direction. 99% of crypto goes away. So it's up to you to pick maybe a few handful of cryptos that are actually going to solve real problems. Now, let's go back to it. Franklin Templeton, CEO. Let's run the clip. Alternative investments is what she's talking about. And remember, this is with gold. You see let me go back here. You can see gold. They flash on the screen here. Gold at 4,150. Precious metals included in alternative investments along with private equity and cryptocurrency. Let's run the clip.
About. We're trying to educate our investing viewers on how they should be thinking about what the portfolio of the future looks like incorporating alternatives. I mean, how much do you think and how much are you advising clients that they should have allocated to alts?
Yeah, so we have about $260 billion of our $1.6 trillion in alternatives, and our view is institutions obviously have been leveraging alternatives for a long time. They are illiquid. That is the message. Like, these are illiquid,
Needs to be
right?
yelled from the mountaintop, right?
Exactly. But you get a premium for that illiquidity, which is significant in a person's retirement plans, right, and their savings. So, look, I think some individuals will get their alternatives exposure simply in an allocation, say, in a mutual fund. Franklin's Equity Group is doing late-stage venture for over a decade because the old IPO kickers that we used to get have not happened in the same way, and so we started to do late-stage venture. So some of them will get that. Some will move into really these perpetual funds, which are interval funds, which allow 5% liquidity a quarter, and some that have more wealth will go into the drawdown type of category. So I think the good news is there's a lot of innovation happening that is going to allow the average person to be able to access alternatives. And honestly, I always say it's like akin to when my grandfather got into the mutual fund business. The average investor couldn't participate in the equity markets. Right now, the average investor can't participate in the private markets. And with
They want to help you get exposure to private equity, private credit, cryptocurrency, precious metals, other ETFs. You want to lever up and be a degen? We are happy to sell that product to you. Look at the wave of 3X ETFs that have been sent off to the SEC and filed after the generic listing standard was implemented by the SEC. And by the way, the generic listing standard is going to streamline the ETF and filing process. And so we're going to get a tidal wave of additional ETFs for alternative investments from cryptocurrency, private equity, etc. And just notice the tone in Larry Fink and the CEO of Franklin Templeton, which both banks or both institutions will be represented at Ripple's Swell Conference, amongst many others as well, too. We should note. Right? These guys are as giddy as could all be up. I mean, these guys are so excited about this opportunity. And this is why I say, I know the struggle's real. I know inflation is not going away. We've been pounding the table and urging people to focus on first income. You got to expand the discretionary income that you have to be able to invest in these assets. I know how hard it is to get by and survive out here right now in the Main Street economy. Much different from Wall Street. As Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, has been saying, Wall Street's had a party. It's time for Main Street. Well, Wall Street's going to help the little guy, quote unquote, Main Street, get invested in these assets. See, it wouldn't be safe for you to invest in crypto without them. It's not safe for you to invest in private equity without them. Now, of course, it's not safe for you to invest in private equity if you are not an accredited investor too. Right? You need to already have made it with $1 million net worth or income of $200,000 for the past 2 years, right? A couple other ways that you can qualify, right? But they make us jump through these hoops. They make us go through them to get these products. Or you could be like us, crazy crypto guys who figured out in a decentralized way how to get these currencies and get these assets and tuck them away and lock them, throw away the key. And these are assets with real utility. Like we said, 99% of crypto goes away. Now, moving on over here, because I'm just going to cut her short there. But you saw we have all these ETF updates now coming in. XRP ETFs got updated on Friday, with additional filings coming in this week here on Solana spot ETFs. This is from Eric Balchunas, and he's talking about the spot fee for the Solana ETF being at 30 basis points and the staking being at 28. He says, seems reasonable. Love how clear they make it too. People need to be able to compare and contrast quickly. And I love that too. Yes, we need, that's the whole point of what we're supposed to have here in these markets is these disclosures of what the heck you've actually invested in. Solana ETF fees being this low off the bat is a good sign, will make them very attractive versus other funds and intermediaries out there. This is one thing where without native staking on the XRP ledger, this is one thing that we will miss is people will want to stake their Ethereum. They will want to stake their Solana. And they're going to want to do so in these ETF products, or in some cases, they'll only be able to do it through these ETF products, right? Now, XRP has no native staking, and so there's not going to be any way for there to be an XRP staking ETF, but the suits would be able to generate a product like an XRP income fund, right? And we started to see, those are going to be very prevalent, I believe. It just might be coming from a more of a centralized yield. The yield's going to come from a centralized counterparty that's going to generate that income, whether they be investing in the XRP Ledger AMM, whether they be investing in, different DeFi protocols that are connected to XRP. We're going to talk about that later in this episode. But as I titled it here tonight, XRP Leverage Cleared, for people in the comments that I've seen stating the obvious, of course it was more than just XRP. I'm not suggesting that this was solely focused on XRP. Just we got to put an XRP in the title of every video or nobody wants to watch it because everybody wants XRP content. But in the broader space, we've cleared out this leverage, right? The suits are ready to come in and sell it. And we've just been telling folks, do not wait around, right? Your opportunity to front run these institutions is ending. And so if you do have a 401k that can't get exposure to cryptocurrency, this is why I've tapped in our sponsor, ITrust Capital. I want Americans to be able to roll over that 401k to crypto and get exposure if they would like to, right? ITrust Capital has us covered here. Promo codes Rector9 to get the $100 funding bonus, traditional Roth SEP IRA, and the premium custody account in institutional grade custody as well. Yep, you can fund it by rolling over the 401k, 403b, TSP, 457, or other. You can contribute with cash, or you can do an IRA transfer as well to fund it. And when you do fund it, you're going to use my promo code to get that $100 funding bonus. The code is Rector9, all caps. And so the market starts moving back up here again today. At the same time as Jerome Powell gives us the speech that quantitative tightening is coming to an end, right? The Bitcoin whale that went short right before the liquidation event had accumulated quite a Bitcoin short, right? $500 million Bitcoin short, and it has now been closed, making around 5 million profit since the cascade on October 10th. So this is a position, a new wallet that was formed on Hyperliquid, and I think that it was like half an hour before the announcement was put out by Trump of the 100% tariffs that started this whole event on Friday, right? So everybody has been watching this wallet ever since then, over the past, 4 days, figuring out, okay, what the heck does this guy know, right? Now, mind you, this is why the setup is still so bullish, specifically for XRP, right? Is because we're about to get these ETFs, and we just flushed out and cleared out all the leverage in the broader crypto space, and specifically too in the DeFi space. Because this crash was not actually caused by a bunch of people hitting the sell button, right? It was all these derivatives that started to unwind, and this whole space blew up, and it extended out into the DeFi space. This is why the stablecoin USDE from Athena Labs depegged on, and of course it was just to Binance, right? But that was just one of many issues in the DeFi space with stablecoins. And I'm going to make a comment here too. This is CZ. If you think that I'm just making this up, no, Binance has admitted, and they're now paying out funds to customers who got liquidated and lost money on their platform. So it's not me saying that Binance played a part and had a role. What are they guilty of? What actually happened? We're still finding that out. But this is unbelievable to me that Binance is actually refunding some of their users. It's like they don't want any troubles. Now, they made billions of dollars, right? Billions and billions is what they were probably able to make. And here they are paying out a few $100 million. So that's not too bad of a business model. But it's not me saying that there was something that happened. Binance is actually sending out money right now. CZ puts out the tweet today, talk is cheap. $283 million compensation on Binance. $45 million recovery airdrop on BNB Chain and 4Meme. Another $400 million recovery airdrop on Binance. Protect users. I'll let you guys form an opinion and come up with the verdict on Binance's role. But clearly, some things went wrong. And it's pretty incredible to see something like this take place. It proves, right, that these exchanges can get out of control pretty quickly. How quickly those order books thinned out. Now, who did CZ end up taking out? Well, that would be Sam Bankman-Fried, of course. And amidst us trying to clear this up, make it safe with regulations, I got a tweet here from John Deaton responding to Laura Loomer. And I can't verify this, but this is what she's saying today, that apparently there is a movement that is forming to get Sam Bankman-Fried pardoned. Folks, here's the tweet from John Deaton, and he's responding to Laura Loomer. You're going to start seeing a lot more in the news about Sam Bankman-Fried. There is a massive and well-funded lobby effort to get this criminal pardoned. He's going to pretend like he was a victim of Joe Biden and the Democrats after he funded all of the left's campaigns. Don't fall for it. Now, John Deaton responds, and I'm just going to go and read off his response. Let me be clear. Any effort to pardon or commute the sentence of Bernie Madoff of crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried, should be squashed immediately. In fact, Pam Bondi should reopen the case against him for violating campaign finance laws. His father, Joe Bankman, should be investigated as he helped Sam Bankman-Fried create the shell companies used to defraud people. Joe Bankman was the architect to Elizabeth Warren's tax policies when she ran for president. He is no stranger to how to evade taxes. His mother, Barbara Fried, should also be investigated. She runs Mind the Gap, a political super PAC, and helped her son with becoming the second largest donor to the Democrats. Now, I should insert here before people say, oh, this is mega propaganda. Sam Bankman-Fried funded Republicans too. We called it all out. Left, right, he was playing and doing the DC dance. Sam Bankman-Fried, they were doing the entire DC dance where you play both sides of the aisle. You swing both ways. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Sam Bankman-Fried also dished out millions to Republicans, as John Dean said, right? Or as I just mentioned. This is both sides of the aisle. And if they helped him violate the law, they should go down as well. Let me echo that, right? Left, right, up, down. If you're guilty and sold out America, not good. Got to be held accountable. Sam Bankman-Fried's parents participated in his criminal enterprise. They held luxury Bahamian property in their names worth tens of millions and received $10 million in cash stolen from FTX customers. Because of their political connections, they were never indicted. Finally, at his trial, it was proven that Sam Bankman-Fried gave the Biden administration $10 million. When asked why he did it, Sam Bankman-Fried told his girlfriend to buy access to regulators. Now, on the flip side, CZ made it out alive out of the 2022 situation, right? And then we circle back, and then Binance actually ends up getting sued, and then they have a huge settlement with the Department of Justice and Treasury, right? Multi-billion dollar settlement, CZ's back and back at it. And so we're trying to clear the space of this over leverage, right? And this all wouldn't have happened or even have been possible, what took place on Friday. My sympathies go out to folks who were affected by what took place. It wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Tether, the offshore exchanges, these exchanges that have their own stable coins, right? These offshore exchanges, which are allowing 100 to 500x leverage, right? And then what also got cleared out and really caused the cascading liquidations is so much of this is programmed through the DeFi. So the DeFi is automatically going to liquidate you as this event's taking place. Right? And so that's why we didn't even have a real order book, as I was saying in my video earlier today. As XRP dropped below $2, you didn't have buyers and sellers. If you didn't have a limit order placed, it wasn't getting filled. I've seen a few people comment and tell me that they were able to market buy below $2. Only a few. Right? And this is going back to the non-scientific study that I conducted today. I asked Twitter and I asked on YouTube earlier, what is the lowest price you were able to buy XRP at during the liquidation event? Sub $1.50, $1.25. Please list the price, exchange, and whether it was a market or limit order. Now, this person right here says, I saw it at $1.56. That's $1.56. Put in a market order on Robinhood By the time it went through, I ended up getting it at 206. And this is, I've been telling you guys, right? I'm moved my assets into position. The assets that I want to sell are on a couple different exchanges, but I've moved most of my XRP to Caleb and Brown, set my orders there, set it and forget it. And then the XRP that I don't want to sell, well, it's in institutional grade custody or in cold storage, right? But the assets like XRP and others that I do want to sell, they're in position with limit orders ready to go, because the liquidity event that you just saw to the downside and how thin that order book actually got to, you're going to see something similar on the flip side, right? When we go back into this bull run and XRP goes back up into price discovery, XRP is going to blast off. It's going to run up and then it's going to fall off, because eventually the order book will thin out. It's not going to be as dramatic as this liquidity event, right? But this is just a function of liquidity at the end of the day, right? And so some people were able to capture XRP below $2, but not that many using market orders. Most of the people that bought under $2 had to have limit orders just sitting there for whatever reason, right? People just say, if you know, a nuke goes off and XRP drops to $1, I'm buying. So they just set a little limit order, right? Those are the people that got their orders filled. Now, I did see this guy commented Dubai Heights, and he says market order of $1.82 on ITrust. Needless to say, you know, I was smiling from ear to ear. So another shout out to our sponsor, ITrust Capital, linked up down below at the top of the description. You know, this didn't happen across the board on many centralized exchanges where folks were able to hit market buy below $2. A lot of people that had those orders filled below $2, it was a limit order. Circling back to what was the point? The point is you didn't have a real market, right? This was absolutely orchestrated. It was an unwind of DeFi, all these different counterparties, once again, programmed through all these algorithms to unwind and liquidate positions as they all got triggered, right? And so this really exposed the cryptocurrency space, but I would argue that it makes our market healthier. It makes us stronger, right? We're shaving off a little fat. Now, Ethena USDE from Ethena, I hadn't realized that this stablecoin has already gotten up to the number 13 cryptocurrency in all of crypto. And right here, I'm on the weekly chart. You can see where it depegged. And apparently that was an issue with Binance. So there you go, Binance, once again, being involved. And so I'm saying, if we're trying to head and move forward, get away from the manipulation and the over leverage and all this, and on the flip side, there's a movement to, you know, pardon Sam Bankman-Fried and allow him back into the action. Which, who knows? Sam Bankman-Fried's probably already directing some of this action from his prison cell. He's on the phone with his market makers. You think that he stepped aside? He's reading books? What is he? He's hanging out with Diddy, isn't he? I gotta stop, because I don't even like mentioning these names and going down some of these rabbit holes. You know, I just stop right there and I say, you guys can research further. But we've been talking with our red folder. We've been talking about the criminal campaign conspiracy. Fast forward to 2025, we're trying to clean it up, and these bad actors are still hanging on, holding us back. While you got players like Ripple and others that have been begging for regulations, right? Saying that, yeah, we already are regulated, but there's just a few points where we need a little additional clarification, and especially to drive innovation and be the leader in the space. Now, thankfully, we are moving in that direction, right? But to reiterate the point, I'm going to go show you guys the XRP price chart. I'm going to show you zoomed out why XRP is still in a bull run. Because you had all of this time to acquire XRP under 50 cents. XRP. Oh, sorry, I thought that I had, oh no, I marked out 250, okay. Yeah, I marked out 250 on my chart. $2.50 is the marker for being up 400% since the election. And you're going to get tired of me saying that. I don't care. It's just a fact. that puts it and frames it up into context onto why you're not going to see me crying. Now, if you bought this year and you're down on your XRP, my sympathies go out. There's something that we can do about it. It's called dollar cost averaging, just like I've done with my XRP long position, which started at 340 in July, and I got wrecked, right? And I had to ride this sucker back down. Now I bought and added to my XRP long this morning. When we bottomed out at 240, I snuck in at 242, about 5 o'clock in this morning. Huge shout out to my son for waking me up in the middle of the night, you know, because I didn't have an order sitting there. I just happened to be awake. And I saw the order block at 240, knew it was coming. I just hit market buy at 242 and let it get filled. And this is the point, is that if you have been dollar cost averaging into XRP for longer than a year, you're up over 400% or very close. If you bought within the last year, well, welcome to the party. Like, you're late. There's nothing that we can do. We don't need to, you know, it's not bad, right? You're just late relative to the 400 or 500% run up that we've had before the election. Not a problem, because what I'm seeing on my chart, what I'm seeing in the fundamentals, what I'm seeing in the ETF inflows is that we're ready to go do another few 100% as well too. Not between now and next month, not between now and maybe the end of the year, but between now and through 2026, these inflows are on the way. And the simple math tells me that we're going to go do another 400%, right, with ease. But XRP, you had all of this time here to acquire. And if you bought anywhere back in here, I mean, once again, you're up 9x, 10x, if not more, when XRP was topping out. Now, here we are at 250. A lot of folks think that it's the end of the world, when in reality, this wick below this level wasn't even real. So our bullish structure is actually still intact. And you even have, you know, folks like Peter Brandt on X calling this the most pure chart in crypto. The most bullish chart, the most pure chart in crypto. And that's the TA outlook. That's just technical analysis, looking at the chart. The fundamentals of the utility of what XRP is actually going to be used for, and can finally be used for in a regulated environment, right? This is what's going to drive XRP into double digits and beyond. It's not going to be retail inflows, right? And we needed to clean up our space. I had been wondering how far this was going to go with all of these various DeFi protocols, because I already watched the DeFi bubble pop in 2021. And we blew up another DeFi bubble. And part of that is because we expanded, you know, with liquid staking and started up these programs again and, you know, continue to expand them. And for crying out loud, we still have Tether, we still have CZ, and we're about to apparently maybe bust out Sam Bankman-Fried and let him come join the party again. And all of this to say, not, you know, once again, 90% of it goes away, is not sustainable, should not invest in, but there is a small percentage that will stick around. And the beautiful thing about us holding XRP and having a significant allocation to XRP is that we can designate smaller percentages of our XRP portfolio into the DeFi and yield opportunities that are coming our way. And XRP DeFi is now coming after all of this gets cleared out, after everything else gets wiped out. By the way, the day that we had that liquidation event where USDE depegged, other stablecoins depegged, right? ROUSD was actually trading at a premium for a little bit of time, right? People were going into ROUSD, so it was actually trading at a premium above $1. And then for a brief moment, it wicked down below, right? And that was right at the dip where people were then selling out of ROUSD to buy XRP. Maybe some degens were buying some memes on the XRP ledger, right? But you actually saw ROUSD sold at a premium, and then it actually depegged slightly, not even like by basically a marginal amount, but that was right at the bottom when folks, you know, were rushing back in to XRP. But you saw, right, this unwind of all this DeFi. And we've been explaining, right? You can go all the way out to this global margin call and look at situations across the world. A lot of eyes on the Japan reverse carry trade. Very important to watch right now, because that could be a big spark to really set things off. And we've been explaining how that's just part of this global margin call that also spreads all the way into degens that are over leveraged in DeFi or over leveraged in the futures. It's all one big trade of over leverage in the system that needs to be cleaned out. And Tether's still around, right? These DeFi systems going without regulations. This is the cleanup, right? Cleanup on aisle 5, right? That's what's taking place in crypto. Fundamentally, what changed for XRP through this liquidation event? Retail traders got a little bit scared, which means not much other than temporarily you have some fear and people scared to come back in. But you're going to zoom out and look and see, wait, this would have been one of the best opportunities to buy because it was right before the suits were getting ready to unlock the ETF wave. Now, it all comes down to the government shutdown. As soon as this shutdown ends, the SEC has a full stack on their desk and they start signing off on these ETFs. And you can complain that the shutdown's going to go over 30 days, that the shutdown's going to go a couple months, that the shutdown's going to go till next year. Who knows? Maybe the aliens will arrive too. That's the other black swan that hasn't played out yet, right? The government shutdown in October blew up our ETF timeline. Except the DC dance could come to an end at any time because it's completely staged. Right? All politics, all DC dance is what I call it. And so it could end at any time. So your window and opportunity to front run and prepare, it could be a couple weeks. It could be another month. We could go till next year. Some people would argue that the government should stay shut down till the end of the year. One kind of wonders how the world just keeps revolving despite the US federal government not being open. How does that work? Obviously, we didn't send everybody home, but makes you think for a second. Wait, what are we doing with all this bureaucracy beast, as I call it? You're getting the most bullish signals from the suits, whether it be Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve saying we're about to end quantitative tightening and make that money printer go burr, baby. You better lock in. Whether it be Mr. President Trump in his suit telling you of all the investment capital and all the deals that they're going to do, whether you like them, hate them, or offended by them, support them, doesn't matter. The trillions are coming. Whether you like it or whether you're offended, doesn't matter. Are you going to invest? Larry Fink's going to sell it too. Is it a bubble? Sure. What's wrong with that? That's Larry Fink. Is AI a bubble? They don't care. Can the product sell? Does it help us keep assets under management? Yes. And they have so much muscle that they can just move as they please, which is exactly how they moved on the Bitcoin ETFs with the best incentives, the lowest fees. And then for, that certain period, I think it was 12 months, there was like no fees, or the first, there was tiers to it. But basically they soaked up all the liquidity into the Bitcoin ETFs because they came in and flexed next to the lowest fees and best incentive. They did the same thing on the Ethereum ETFs. And so I'm making a bet that they're going to do it on the XRP ETFs. But even if BlackRock does miss it, which is impossible, Franklin Templeton. I played the clip of Franklin Templeton here tonight talking about how their alternative investment portfolio is growing as well too. And you can see how excited they are to help retail investors get exposure to this asset class. The holy ones are going to come down and bless the investment for us peasants to partake in. Or you can do what we've been doing, and we've been stacking the heck out of the suppressed assets that we know can actually solve real problems for the new financial system. When it comes to a debasement trade, which is now the talk of the town, our silver's at all-time high, our gold's at all-time high, and XRP went to all-time high. Each asset is sending a signal. We've stacked the heck out of all three of them. Myself, full transparency, 90% of my portfolio is XRP, and then a small percentage of the overall portfolio is silver. So I'm probably, 93 to 95% XRP and silver, 90% XRP and a few percentage for silver. That's how I'm positioned. Full disclosure. Wow, has it paid off? And when you look, okay, we know there's overvaluation. So that's something that we have to consider. So that's why I don't own 50 different cryptos. That's why 90% of my crypto portfolio and really my overall investment portfolio is XRP. And so it's time to focus on which assets you think are going to see significant inflows from the institutions, because that's the big driver going forward. Retail is scared to death. And this is why I've been stacking assets that check off the boxes of ETFs, digital asset treasury companies, right? Companies putting it on their balance sheet, and institutional adoption. Is retail using it right now? That's cute. That's great. I love crypto. Let's move, crypto forward. I'm rooting for everybody. But as far as where am I going to put my chips? I'm going to put my chips. We're going to move to where the puck's going, as Gretzky said. We're going to move to where the puck's going, which Larry Fink is now saying that cryptocurrencies are going to transcend traditional currencies. Now, I want to get into your guys' super chats. I'm going to play this clip right here. This is from Axelar Network, because I like to get into this Q&A with you guys and talk about this yield that's coming for XRP investors. But this is Axelar speaking on 10% yield for XRP. And I'm just going to run this clip. Lending and looping strategies, DeFi users can boost that to 12 to 20% depending on your risk appetite, creating an infinite money glitch, which that term scares me. I'm just going to say that. Infinite money glitch is a term that scares me. But I'm going to run this clip and we're going to play this, because what I'm going to do in my role as somebody who's been in the XRP community, but makes content here on a daily basis covering these financial markets, focusing on cryptocurrency, and obviously heavily invested in XRP, I am going to go across all of the XRP DeFi. I'm going to sacrifice some of my XRP here and there, and I'm going to report back to you guys on what we're finding out. So I'm just going to run this clip here, Axelar explaining where they're generating yield on the Paul Barron network. Let's run the clip here.
With respect to yields, we talked about high single-digit yields. Just for illustrative purposes, let's talk about 7%, right? And let's assume that 7% is the annual return for holding MXRP. By leveraging these additional opportunities that Dennis mentioned, right? For example, you will be able to go on a lending protocol like Morpho and get a loan against your MXRP. Using the loan, you will be able to deploy it again into DeFi strategies and increase your yield. So for users that have higher risk appetite, you will be able to do these looping strategies and go from 7% to like 12% or 14% or even 20% with more aggressive strategies. So what's really nice here is that the protocol itself allows users to decide on their risk profile and potentially go after significantly higher returns. With respect
There you go. The liquid staking, right? And this is kind of something newer. In the DeFi bubble of 2021, we didn't really see as much of this, I don't think, and it's really expanded lately. Now, the good news, because you might be asking yourself, well, Zach, you just basically, ranted on all night about how we just blew up and cleared out DeFi. We did. And now you're showing me the next opportunity in XRP to put our XRP in DeFi? I am, because there's lessons to learn, right? We get to watch other people go mess up, go blow up DeFi protocols. Obviously, the worst cases being Celsius, Luna, FTX, etc. And then what we just saw take place, we get to watch all that take place, and then we get to improve on it. And it's the same thing that we're seeing. Ripple is now putting up $200,000 for what they're calling an attack-a-thon on the XRP lending, XRP Ledger lending protocol. Now, this is XRP Ledger getting native lending, which is really going to open up our DeFi, right? And so I'm saying that we're perfectly positioned after watching the mistakes of other DeFi protocols, after seeing the mistakes of other stablecoins and how those are done. You're seeing Ripple move in and set the standard with RLUSD. And now these opportunities are arriving for XRP holders. Are we going to jump and move all in? Am I sending these guys, tens of thousands or, more XRP to any of these protocols? No. I've only done 190 XRP into FXRP for Flare. I haven't done any into Axelar yet, but I probably will. And the reason why you hear me say sacrifice is because I go in with the assumption that I might lose this forever. And if I lose that XRP forever, am I going to be fine with it? I'll be a little bit upset, but it's not, a big amount of my portfolio. And so we go throw in 100 XRP. We go throw in a couple hundred XRP so that I can put it into a couple different yield opportunities, a couple different protocols, delegating, staking, etc., liquidity pools, all of it. And then we get feedback. And the best part about this is that you get a spectrum of completely decentralized all the way to the centralized providers. And we're not too far off from going into our traditional bank and being able to put these assets up as collateral. It's starting with Jamie Dimon's JP Morgan is going to offer crypto trading, not custody. Maybe they'll have to tap in with Ripple, right? Maybe that's the deal that they did. That was quite some time ago, though, when the 15 executives from JP Morgan went to the offices of Ripple in San Francisco. But maybe JP Morgan can tap into Ripple custody solutions if they need a little bit of help. If they need help with settlement, they can tap into the prime brokerage platform Hidden Road that Ripple acquired. They're already doing $3 trillion of flows per year. They got a little bit of room for more. From Vanguard, right, saying that now we're going to get exposure to crypto. From BlackRock, etc. Right, all of them. You're going to have the centralized suits and other providers coming to your banks, these traditional institutions, these centralized exchanges, all the way to the completely decentralized protocols like the Flare network and others, right, that are as far down the continuum of being decentralized as you can get. And we get everything in between. They're all competing for our business and to provide yield to the XRP community. And the higher XRP goes, right, the more we're going to be compounding, right? Because your XRP bag now at $2 or $3, compounding and earning yield on 5% of that's not really going to move the needle for some people. But as XRP appreciates significantly, and then you start earning 5-10% on your assets, that's going to make a big difference. And so once again, how do you take advantage? Well, you observe. I'm not saying that anybody needs to put their XRP into any of this right now. I'm showing you what I'm doing, showing you where we make money, showing you where we lose money, and what we learn in between. And that's the benefit of the positioning of the XRP ledger, getting all of this DeFi, which, by the way, is the same DeFi we're going to be using, same DeFi that Ripple is going to help their banks and institutions use as well. And so I want to get into your guys' comments and questions. Let's go rapid fire with it. Thank you so much for stopping by here tonight. Let's check it. Let's check it here. Okay. GCB, thank you. Do you think that mainstream media and asset managers like Matt Hugin will still lead Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana once the XRP ETFs are approved? It's been so fascinating, hasn't it, to watch some of these guys avoid XRP. It's like somebody whispered in their ear that they can't talk about XRP. I find it also very interesting how quiet Brad Garlinghouse has been lately. There's a lot, right? And he's shown up to a couple different events, the Pantera Capital Summit. He's going to be in DC FinTech Week, Ripple Swell. I mean, they're getting ready for Ripple Swell. And I think that this is kind of the calm before the storm. Is at Ripple Swell Conference, you're going to see a lot of these suits and institutions come out and say, yep, we are partnered up with Ripple. We are using XRP. And I do believe that we're no longer going to be in this environment of the mainstream media can keep on doing that. Guys, we're pulling more views than them. We're pulling more views than these guys. I think I had 120,000 views at least on my liquidation video on Friday. And I dropped actually a couple videos that day. I mean, CNBC and some of these platforms, I mean, this video here with Larry Fink on CNBC only has 40,000 views. This video with Franklin Templeton that I played earlier only has 10,900 views. We've taken over, right? And so the mainstream media can keep on doing their dance, but people are seeing through it. And this is why investors are searching for XRP more so than other cryptos. This is why they're going to meme coins. They're going to play around, is because they don't want exposure to Bitcoin. They don't want exposure to Ethereum, right? They're getting exposure to Solana. They're getting exposure to BNB because they're trying to go be degens in those ecosystems. This is why I said that we should let us, in one little corner of the XRP ledger, you give the degens a little casino to go play around and just keep them contained. Sometimes they get out of control. You got to toss them out. It's okay. Give them their corner because they lock up XRP. They burn XRP, and actually they test the AMM and all these systems. Really, they are very helpful in that way. And it can be a real benefit to the holders of the native assets to these ledgers, right? And I always said that what we're looking at here too is the same DeFi, the same AMM, the same liquidity pools, the same functions on the XRP ledger, a ledger that's focused on liquidity, which is one of the biggest problems we face, along with neutrality. We need neutral currencies, right? Currencies that can stand the test of time, that also have additional utility. That's XRP as well. And the tokenization of real world assets, that was the clip that went most viral. I didn't even play it earlier from Larry Fink, was him talking about tokenizing every single asset and how it's probably going to be done by next year. I was listening to another video earlier today, CNBC, they were interviewing TD Ameritrade, and the whole conversation was about the Ethereum treasury play. And he was explaining, this is a guy from TD Ameritrade, just like typical Wall Street avatar, explaining the Ethereum treasury play. Now, does that make me want to invest in Ethereum? No, because we are in this game. We understand what's at play and the fundamentals, the tokenomics, etc. But let them sell Bitcoin, let them sell Ethereum to keep assets under management, to be successful. And as soon as they've basically squeezed as much as they can out of Bitcoin and Ethereum in those ETFs, and now they're going to deliver XRP, Solana, and the others. Right? So they need these other ETFs. So to the super chat question, which was a very good question, right? Do I think that mainstream media and asset managers like Matt Hugin will still lead with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana? No. They're going to need to sell these other products if they want to keep assets under management. And the XRP ETFs in particular, they've been the most successful ETFs that almost every fund manager has launched, from 2Cream to 3IQ up in Canada, all of them. Now, I got another super chat here from Dennis. Thank you for your support, brother. What we just learned was how thin order books were. When they get emptied, XRP will step up in price, and thus the institution adoption never lets the price drop for the most part. Yeah. Right. Once that liquidity is in and moving on the XRP ledger, right, it's going to help that XRP price sustain. On the other side, on the supply side, as more and more XRP is getting locked up, once again, the degens are locking up tens of thousands of XRP into memes. Fuzzy Wuzzy Penguins. 10,000 XRP. Do I support it? In the sense that it's locking up XRP, I do. Am I going to buy the Fuzzy Wuzzy Penguin NFT? No. They're going to lock it up in that. We're going to lock it up in Flare, Axelar, more markets, etc. Right? On and on and on, including the ETFs, including the digital asset treasuries. And so you're going to be looking at an order book that just doesn't have that much on the sell side and is able to just absolutely fly when these ETF floodgates open up. Just like that order book was so thin and it wiped out to the downside, That order book is going to be cleared out after we pump up to, this is the move that I have been talking about though. You have to wipe out the sellers below $10. We have to get rid of everybody. And I don't mean, get rid of them like they need to leave the XRP community. I'm not going to shame anybody for selling their XRP at any price, whether it's now $10 or if you're waiting for $1,000 XRP, that's fine. I'm not here to shame anybody. I just know the reality of our situation. I speak to a lot of XRP investors, and I'm gauging the community every single day. And so I know that a lot of people want to offload XRP before $10. That's the first big sell block that we need to get rid of. Basically, the $5 to $10 sell wall, we got to let those guys make that bet. But then from there, you have nothing but air above that. And so this, I think, is the max pain moment. XRP catching up to where it already should have been is the run up to $5 to $10. But then, finishing off the bull run, fundamentally driven from ETF exposure and inflows, this is what drives us to double digits and beyond. And we find out how there's no sell side or a very limited sell side on the way up. A lot thinner than many people anticipated. No offense to the fuzzy wuzzy penguins in that community. I like the fuzzy wuzzies and the penguins. Okay. We got What the Heck came in here with the super chat. Let's check it out. Just want to say thank you again, Zach. I wouldn't be as positioned nor as prepared for what transpired last Friday without your content. God bless you and the fam. Let's keep building, brother. And thank you. I really do appreciate that. Just to repeat, if you didn't have your orders placed on these exchanges, they didn't go through. To buy XRP below $2, you were trying to hit that buy button, it wasn't going through. But we showed a couple examples. ITrust Capital was able to fill some orders below $2, and I spoke with Jim from Caleb and Brown. He's actually going to be coming back on the show next week for an interview and a market update. And I spoke with him and got an update on the team. Everybody was fully deployed, and they were filling orders all day. And I did see a couple people comment on that thread that I'd posted on Twitter that they were able to get their orders filled. A couple of them below $2 on Caleb and Brown as well. But they had to have been limit orders. And that one, a couple there. You can go read that thread for yourself and you'll see what I'm talking about, that we didn't have a real market of buyers and sellers below $2. We didn't. Now, so I don't care who you use, by the way, guys. Like, I'm willing to shill what I believe in. Okay? I don't give anybody financial advice. I don't tell you what to buy, when to sell, or anything like that. I just say, hey, I'm using this platform. I like it. I say, hey, I'm using this platform. I don't like it. I say, hey, this platform is holding my crypto hostage. I don't know why. So I don't care what platform you use. I just like to share with you guys, I put my face out here every day. I wear it on my sleeve every day, how I feel about every single issue, every single crypto, every single investment. I tell you how I'm positioned, and I tell you which platforms I use. And I am going towards the platforms that are getting the job done. Right? I'm in the process of setting up. I'd like to do a Roth IRA, and I'm going to be, deploying that at ITrust Capital. All right. I've been moving XRP to Caleb and Brown. I've stopped using other centralized exchanges, and the XRP that I don't care to sell or am never going to sell is buried in my backyard. Right. Yep. Thoughts on Trump's comments on BRICS today? He's going to apply pressure. BRICS basically is busted up. I think that and we talked about this, right? How the main problem that BRICS had is that they needed to create a neutral currency. And it takes time to develop that and get respect for something like that. Now, all of these countries, though, we've been saying this. In fact, I have a whole playlist on my YouTube that is titled BRICS Loves XRP. And the main point of that playlist was to show people that all of the BRICS nations have one thing in common, or a couple things in common, but most importantly, They're all stacking gold if they can. They all are trying to stack and produce as much commodities as they can, right? Gold, silver, and others. And a lot of them are using XRP, have partnered up with Ripple, right? And I'm talking about institutions within those countries. Ripple's dominance in Brazil. Ripple's exposure over in India. Ripple also, there's a couple deals that happened there with China. And it's not just with some of these governments and some of these central banks, it's with these institutions inside of these countries. So it doesn't matter what the country's doing, that nation is already moving in that direction, having their hand held by Ripple, which is why I have a playlist titled BRICS Loves XRP, because I went through all of the countries that were within BRICS, countries that were considering going into BRICS, the new ones that got introduced over the past few years. And it's the same thing as the SWIFT deal that came out a couple weeks ago. Remember that FUD? Isn't it funny how it's a new piece of FUD every week? And so the SWIFT FUD was, these 30 banks are testing with, Linea, Ethereum layer 2 Linea with SWIFT, these 30 banks. Everybody's freaking out. Oh my gosh, is Ripple cooked? Is XRP done? I see the news. I go, okay, let's go to Grok. I ask Grok, how many of these banks are partnered up with Ripple? Every single freaking one, besides Wells Fargo. And I just sit back and laugh, right? Because when you've combated this FUD for years, it takes 30 seconds. Either I already know the answer off the top of my head because we've been in this game for so long, or I ask Grok one question just to clarify and fact check me on what my suspicion is, which was that they were all partnered up with Ripple. And sure enough, they're either already had partnerships with Ripple, have active partnerships with Ripple. Some of those partnerships include on-demand liquidity using XRP. And yet everybody freaks out. Oh my gosh, SWIFT. They're playing in a sandbox with some banks and playing around. The difference is the XRP ledger's been live for over a decade. The liquidity that Ripple's already put on the XRP ledgers into the tens of billions. And they're ready to scale it now into the trillions. All right. So as far as BRICS, I stopped concerning myself with what kind of deal they were able to get, going to be able to get done, because I just said it's the same everywhere. The flight to safety is gold. The way to continue having a standing in the world order is to control or produce commodities, real value. And then going forward, you have to be able to get around the sanctions. You have to be able to get around SWIFT. So they're exploring all these things. But then institutions within those countries have already started partnering up and using XRP or using other cryptos for cross-border payments and others too. But Ripple with XRP is the furthest along. And the benefit of the XRP ledger is, of course, it is open source and permissionless. You can pull up the documentations on the oldest bank, is probably the largest too, the largest bank in Russia, and how they described XRP and the Ripple network as being the base layer for a new financial system. So go check out that playlist if you want. It's all videos that are a couple years old. BRICS Loves XRP. I've only done like 3 videos, I think, for it. Maybe I need to circle back and make a new video for that playlist though. But yeah, BRICS loves XRP. They love gold, and they're producing commodities. Yeah. President Trump, though, he's gonna protect the dollar. Where do you see silver per ounce by end of year? Well, we are just flying off, new all-time highs right now. Chosen One Collecting. That's a great question. It's interesting because I'm somebody who likes to have predictions. I know some people don't want my predictions. They say, shut up, Zach. That's okay. If that's you, just make sure you give me a thumbs down and then tell me how you really feel in the comments down below. Thank you. We're in the game to make predictions, right? I honestly haven't really come to like a firm number on where I think silver's going. I just think it's for sure on its way to $100, which funny enough is how I feel about XRP too. right? I feel like silver is definitely on its way to $100 by the end of the year. Maybe not, right? Could we see a $60, $70 silver? I mean, we're moving along pretty quickly now. So, anything's possible. But as far as target, $100 plus is my target on silver. Easily $100 on silver. But, that's quite a stretch. That's quite a run. How much further can it go? The fundamentals behind it are still very strong. And so what's the new floor price going to be? I think, to me, I just treat it as real money, right? And it's a savings account for me. So I don't chart silver. I don't look to call silver. I don't look to make silver predictions, really. Although I understand your question is asking for a silver prediction. Other than I'll just say we're on our way to $100 and beyond. I also feel the same way about XRP. Not this year, not next year, but in due time, $100 XRP, $100 silver, absolutely. Precious metals versus crypto, what do you choose? I choose both. And I'm glad that you asked this, Chosen One Collecting. It's very important because I see a lot of people have been asking me this. Zach, should I sell off gold or silver to buy crypto? Well, my answer is first and foremost, I can't give you financial advice. I don't give financial advice. I don't tell anybody to buy or sell anything. What do? I treat both assets, they're in two different buckets. So silver and precious metals, gold and silver, would be on the defensive side of my portfolio, where I'm not charting it. I'm not looking to, I need silver to go to $100. I need silver to go to this price. I need gold to do this. I don't own any gold, by the way. I just acquire what I can as a savings. And all of my silver I acquired under $30 per ounce. And so I've basically doubled up on my silver in the past couple years. But I have no plans to sell it because I'm just saving it. Crypto's the offensive side of my portfolio. So I don't trade between the two. I don't pull from defensive to go on offense, right? Now, potentially I could go from offense to defense. I could see myself doing that at some point, right? Taking profit on XRP at some point and maybe moving it into some gold or silver. Maybe. Not right now. Not anytime soon. That dynamic would have to change and I'd maybe explore that, but probably not. Because for me, I divide it up, right? It's like for any of you guys who have had a business, you might do this where, you save one account for taxes, one account for savings, and then you have another account for checking, or maybe ideally too, you have another account there for investments where you're going to go invest in equipment, employees, whatever it may be, right? And so for me, that's how I divide the two up, right? I don't take from my defensive side of my portfolio to go into the offensive side. I really don't take from offense to go into defense. They are separate. And because I'm so young, the silver does not make up much of my portfolio. You guys are in a different position where you might have a lot of gold or silver that's appreciated significantly, and it could make sense for you to sell off some of it to go and get it more exposure to crypto. But you just have to understand this is how I view it. You're making a leap from a defensive position to an offensive position. So if you take your gold, which is worth $1 million, and you roll it into crypto tomorrow, you have to be ready to stomach a 10, 20, or even a 50% drop like we saw on Friday. If you keep it in gold and silver, you're not going to get a 50% drop. But are you going to get 500%? And so that's why I understand why people are asking that question. It's just for me, the way that I view my portfolio, they're on two separate sides. Hopefully that provides some clarity for you guys out there. Once again, I'm not here to give anybody financial advice. I just tell you the mistakes that I make and when I get lucky sometimes. Okay. Now we have Mrs. Claus came through here. Appreciate that. This is part one. Zach, I was on my computer the minute it happened on Coinbase. I was trying to make a buy when all of a sudden the right part of my screen went all over in numbers at light speed. Yeah, it went crazy. Part two. where I bought and froze, the RT side where I bought and froze. I don't know what the RT side is. I saw it drop to $1.80. I kept hitting buy and landed at $2.18, which I didn't know I did until 10 minutes later. It was wild. I didn't know what happened. Yeah, Coinbase was one of the worst, which I believe that's the exchange that you said. Yeah, Coinbase. Yeah, Coinbase, of course, was one of the worst. And this is why the only thing that I really do on Coinbase at this time is trade futures. And the only reason why I do that is because I'm still a degen. I still need to scratch that itch a little bit. And, you know, that's a personal problem, right? Once again, I use low leverage and I don't gamble any of my XRP or put it up as margin. So if my trading bag goes to zero tomorrow, I'm not affected, other than I might be in a upset mood for a little bit. Coinbase, though, I only use futures on that platform because they're regulated in the United States of America, CFTC. And so I don't use these offshore exchanges, no KYC, 100 to 500x leverage, because you can't move with size. Now, if you're going to bet futures, you know, a couple $100, then sure, go use the offshore exchange, you know, and go play around over there. But, you know, I already dealt with this on Qcoin one time and it scared the crap out of me. When Qcoin was allowing me to trade futures over there, I went on a winning spree shorting Bitcoin. And that was fun until Qcoin decided it was time to kick off the Americans. And I had a bunch of money over there. Well, at the time, you know. And so I was able to convert it all to XRP and pull it off of Qcoin before they shut me down. But I remember the whole time trading with anxiety, like, oh my gosh, at some point are they just going to pull the plug and take my money? And thankfully they did it nice. They put out a notice. They said, we're going to shut you off. You have a month or whatever. And then I was able to convert my USDT tether into XRP. And then I was able to pull my XRP off. And ever since then, I've stopped using offshore exchanges myself. And you see a lot of offshore exchanges are pushed by a lot of crypto influencers because they're doing rewards programs and juicing it. It's all part of the program to get you to go gamble over there with 50x and 100x leverage, right? And those big bonuses get paid out by liquidating 99% of the traders. So when you see people, oh, you know, go use this exchange, like I'm not here to hate on anybody's game. I'm just calling it like it is. They say, okay, go use this exchange because, you know, there's a 10,000 tether bonus. Well, that 10,000 tether bonus comes from liquidating everybody else, right? And so that's the model. And that's, once again, which led us up to and caused that cascading liquidation, the largest by a factor of 10x on Friday. So for me, I feel safer on Coinbase trading my futures there, even though I don't trust Coinbase at all. I wouldn't be surprised one day to just, you know, Coinbase now is basically working with the United States government though. And so I don't expect Coinbase to go down or really give us all that much of an issue, other than at times like this, when it's very volatile, you know, getting orders to go through. And then obviously, God forbid, if they did go bust, you have no bankruptcy remote protection, which is absolutely critical as well too. So once again, I don't hold much crypto on Coinbase. I just trade my futures over there. Okay. But great points, Mrs. Claus. You're right. Coinbase was crazy. And that's why it's always best, if you can, to set those limit orders. Okay. Now we have another one here from Robert. Robert says, Zach, like seeing how you're entering the Flare arena. I'm excited and looking to test the waters. That's right, folks. I'm willing to make that sacrifice for you. We'll see if we make any money or not. I'm excited. You have been mentioning ITrust Capital. If I send them my crypto and find out that I do not like them, will they return my crypto or sell it? This would create a taxable event I do not want. Desert Roamer, this is a fantastic question because this is something that's brand new. I haven't seen anybody else do this with the premium custody account for ITrust Capital. They've created a closed loop system to add an additional layer of security, but you cannot pull crypto out of that account. So if you send crypto to the PCA account, or if you buy crypto within that account, you have to cash out. The only way to get money or funds out of that account, period, is to withdraw US dollars to your bank account. So if it's ever compromised or hacked or anything happens, all that they can do is send US dollars to your bank account. But that's something to keep in mind with the ITrust PCA premium custody account, right? Institutional grade custody, 1% on the transaction fee. Look into the full details for yourself, including the fact that if you do invest in crypto or you send crypto there, you cannot pull the crypto back out. It's part of the security measure. But I appreciate the question there. It's a very good point that should be mentioned, Desert Roamer. And so go check it out for your guys' self. And once again, when you use ITrust Capital, use my link and you use my promo code RECTOR9, you're going to receive that $100 funding bonus. But yes, I do want to make sure that everybody's clear about how that program works out. First of its kind that I've ever seen. Very interesting security measure. But you are going to have that taxable event if you go to withdraw. Absolutely. Now this is, once again, the premium custody account too is separate from the IRA product, where you would roll over a 401k, where you would transfer an IRA, or where you would fund an IRA over there. That's separate. That's a different deal. How is XRP staking Unchained going? Thomas, good question. I have not deployed any of my FXRP yet. I'm hoping to do so this week. I've kind of been procrastinating, researching. Not that many people are adamant about it. I've asked Twitter a couple times, hey guys, where should I stake my FXRP? And I've gotten a few questions or a few suggestions here and there, but I'm still overlooking all of my options. The Versatile, thank you. Do you believe that something will happen by end of year price-wise? Like, do you feel it in your spirit? Something good should happen for XRP. Wish you the best. 100%. Absolutely. I want you guys to look me in the eyes. You guys see, like, I'm not just saying this because I want to pump you up. You guys know that I am willing to tell you what you need to hear, not always here to just tell you what you want to hear. Willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. Willing to be frustrated with you and acknowledge the suppression, the manipulation, and the orchestrated liquidation event that just happened on Friday did not change the fundamentals. Not at all. In fact, I actually think that it prepared us better, right? Because we cleared out that leverage, our structure remains intact, and the inflows are coming. Why am I so bullish on XRP? Because it is simple math. The inflows that we get from the ETFs drive us to much higher prices and most likely double digits. By end of year, yes. Unless the government stays shut down. I had a timeline. You guys saw my chart. I had the green line marked on October 18th. Right? Because that was going to be the go live, or it was October 17th, this Friday. The XRP ETFs. The deadlines are October 18th going into November. The government shut down, that blew up the timeline. And then the other thing that happened was the SEC implemented the generic listing standard. So now the timeline on that process is irrelevant. So when's XRP going to go up? Well, I think that we've already found support. If we go over to the XRP chart right now, we're back down to 249. But XRP was back up at about 265 yesterday. We need to flip 265 back into support. That's the level that I'm watching for us to break through. But I just don't even really consider any of this wick real. And so when we zoom out on the XRP chart, you see that XRP, recovered back above 230 pretty quickly. All we did here is that we wiped out leverage. We set a floor at 230. Now we're hanging out at 250. We closed off the day today above 250. So we'll finish out the rest of this month, waiting to see when the government shutdown ends, waiting to get another rate cut from the Fed. There is contagion as far as the global margin call goes. So am I scared about folks that are exposed to stocks? Yes. Am I worried about Main Street? Yeah, I've been worried about Main Street for years. We've been sounding the alarm about this for years. that still is here, because the rate cut that we got, the rate cut that we're going to get, and maybe we get 2 by the end of the year, is not going to be enough to save the day for Main Street that has to roll over, including a bunch of commercial real estate that has to roll over, residential loans too. The real estate market on a residential standpoint is at a standstill in most markets. No volume. And the commercial real estate market is collapsing. Office is a bloodbath. And so we need a lot lower rates to be able to solve that. Right? The Japan carry trade unwinding as we speak. And now the good news is that in the crypto space, we cleared out our leverage. We pulled off the Band-Aid. And so as long as XRP can hold, we might be chopping sideways till the end of the month, right? Shutdown might last 2 months. I mean, we're in unprecedented times. So if the government stays shut down for 2 months, I'm going to come back to my comment section and people will be still saying, oh, I'm still waiting for $5 to $7 by September. And I'll say, I know, I was wrong. People will say, I was waiting 5 to 7 by September, 5 to 7 by October. And I'll say, I know, I was wrong. I own it. Happy to do so. Happy to do so. But I think that we're a long ways off from clearing out the contagion in the system. And so that's a serious threat that I don't take lightly, but our structure is still holding up and our fundamentals are fantastic for XRP. So as soon as that government shutdown ends, SEC signing off, and we'll be back up and running. And we probably are going to run before that too, because the smart money is going to pile in here. Now let's see here. Okay. Was that the last of the... Oh, no. I was going to say, I thought that I had a couple more. Mrs. Claus comes through again. Can you explain for those who don't know how can Caleb and Brown or ITrust put in orders for hundreds, if not thousands of people at a time when something like this happens? Do you text your broker? How do you make a trade? It's a good question. I just spoke with Jim about this, and they have brokers, but then they also have support roles who work with those brokers. And I've actually, had this happen to me too, where I email my broker, who's Jake Boyle, and Jake is out of the office or something, right? But his support role, and that's not the right name. I forget the name that they have for it, but it's a position that works with the broker that can submit that order. Now, a lot of the times I'm just submitting orders through the desktop website. They do have an app, but I'm hearing that a lot of people are still preferring to use the desktop. Obviously, it's nice to be able to send the transactions through on the go, but I just set all my orders on the website. I've had no problem. And then when I go to withdraw, I just send an email to my broker and say, yeah, I'd like this much sent to my bank. And then they just verify that with me. And then they send that out, and it's landed in my bank account every time, except for one holiday weekend. Every other time, the money's landed in my account the next day. When it comes to orders, they filled my sell order on Zebek really well. And I have XRP sell orders sitting on their platform that when we go up to certain levels, I do have a little bit of XRP that gets sold off. And it's a very small percentage of my portfolio. But as far as, a lot of folks are finding that it's easier to just submit transactions or trades through the website or emailing your broker, and then they're going to send that through. But, to answer your question, it's not just, they have 15 brokers now, I think is what Jim said, but then they have support staff behind that. So I don't have the full head count, but of course, a lot of this is automated. A lot of people are going to submit their own orders. And so, if you're trying to get on the phone with them to send an order through in crunch time like that, it's going to be tough. I think if I look back on my messages with Jim, he was telling me that each broker's email account was getting 10 emails per minute. So they had to be moving pretty quick. And even they ran into, everybody ran into constraints at some point, right? And if you didn't have your order already sitting there, then you were at the back of the line. Right? So it pays to have those limit orders set, and you let the order book fill those up automatically, right? But yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. And I just, the reason why I was asking too is I wanted to see, one, how real the market order book was, how real the chart that we're looking at was when XRP went below $2. But then I also wanted to get feedback on which platforms performed and which ones didn't. And I got a lot of good feedback on who failed on Friday and who did the best that they could, right? At a certain point, things were jacked up for about 10 minutes there, where nothing was really moving. But some platforms definitely handled it better than others. Yeah. We got another super chat coming in here. Appreciate that. Hey, Zach, when you say buy silver, do you mean physical silver or like an ETF tracking silver? Thanks for the content. I don't do ETFs. The only allocations that I've made to silver have been physical that I have in my possession with no counterparty risk. I like to have it as blackout barter. Now, if I were to make a larger allocation, that's something that you have to figure out, because are you going to store, hundreds or thousands of ounces in your house? That becomes a logistical and security problem. And so this is when you would need to rely on trusted counterparties to hold that silver. And so our longtime precious metals partner has been Andy Sheckman at Miles Franklin. And I'll be honest with you guys, great business, right? I don't even really make that much on my affiliates, sending people over to Miles Franklin, because he charges so little in fees and premium, right? The margin's tight on that business, right? Andy's taught me so much about it. I consider Andy Sheckman, a friend now, and he's taught me a lot because I was new to precious metals and how that market worked. And actually, I've been thinking about getting him back on the show to give us some insights on the market. But I really don't even make that much because, the amount that I make on every sale is very small, because Andy Sheckman's firm is one of the best when it comes to service and when it comes to fees. So I've been partnered up with them for a long time. I was happy that ITrust Capital also does sell precious metals in the 401k retirement, or not the 401k, but the crypto IRA. That same IRA that you're going to invest in crypto, you can invest in precious metals as well too. So if you need to get bigger exposure than just, stuffing a few ounces under, in your safe of silver, then you're going to need to go find a trusted partner that has, large vaults, institutional vaults that can keep your precious metals for you. I do not like the ETF products. I don't like the paper products when it comes to precious metals. For many of us, the whole reason why we invested in metals was to get away from paper, not just fiat funny money, but also from the paper derivatives market. Because as Lynette Zhang says, our other good friend Lynette Zhang, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. I believe that. I believe that. Okay. Now, we have another super chat that just came in here. Let me refresh the chat. If you guys have any last minute questions, get those in. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you haven't already, please make sure that you like this video. Help us out by sharing our content out far and wide. And all of my community resources are available at zachrector.com. We got a question here from Eric Rasmussen. XRP Yoda on the comments keeps saying the aliens are coming to steal our XRP. Is this true? And when are you live? Just on Tuesday? Great question. Thank you. The aliens definitely are coming, and they definitely want an allocation of XRP. They're not going to use slow proof of work. They need currencies that are ready to go quantum. And so the aliens are going to be using XRP 100%. And I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Now, some people just watch, they're probably thinking, is this guy serious? Well, I kind of. David Schwartz went down to the South Pole, right? Antarctica, right? You know, conducting business. I don't know what kind of aliens they have down there, but I'm sure that they got a deal done. No, I do believe 100% that the aliens, they need something that can move quantum. And Greg Kidd was the one that coined the term intergalactic reserve currency for XRP. Yes, but what about the crypto that we can earn on Gemini credit card? Great question, Anushka. Thank you. Let me go rapid fire here for just a little bit longer here with you guys. I want to get through any other questions, just rapid fire real quick. Can you borrow money to do a super chat? You don't have to. Just drop your comment right now. I'll answer your guys' questions rapid fire real quickly. Great question. So yeah, Gemini's a centralized exchange. That would be your counterparty. And so obviously, as that racks up, you can then just pull your XRP off to cold storage or go move it to institutional grade custody somewhere else if you want to. And I want to make this clear for people because some people are getting confused thinking that it's a card that spends XRP. Excuse me, that's not the case. This is a fiat credit card. So you're spending fiat and then you are earning XRP back as a reward. And so I've started using and I'm going to go fill up my truck tomorrow. I've started using my Gemini XRP credit card for gas and diesel, and then for dining out. Take wife out for a date. I'm tapping that Gemini XRP card, earning 3% back on dining, 4% back on gas and diesel. It's money that I would already be spending. So I'm just going to tap it, and then we go pay off the credit card every month, you know, boost the credit score, get free XRP essentially, stack it. That's linked up down below as well too. But yeah, I mean, would I trust Gemini with a lot of XRP? I don't trust anybody with a lot of my XRP, right? So at a certain point, you could just move that off. Yeah, absolutely. There's no limitations. As soon as the XRP gets deposited into your Gemini wallet and your Gemini account, you can pull that off right away. That's an expensive pizza, Zach. I know. Now you think about it, when you get the bill, you go, oh gosh, well, at least I'm getting 3% back on XRP. You know, on the bright side, you're getting a little bit more XRP because to take your significant other out for dinner, a date, to do anything, you're dropping a 50 spot, you know, anywhere you go. Especially filling up my truck up here in the loony left coast, the highest gas tax in the country. Don't get me started. It cost me $100 to fill up the diesel truck every time. 4% back XRP every time. So that, you know, it doesn't sting as much. Zach, do you really believe that the liquidation event was good? Yes, it wiped out leverage. It wiped out degens. It cleaned up our space. Absolutely. It was great. Wouldn't it have been better if it never happened? It didn't need to be that bad. We made it that bad. The centralized exchanges made it that bad. Tether. But that, you know, is why it was our own doing as to why it was that bad. The manipulation has to be exposed. We have to fix these things. Like the DeFi protocols worked as anticipated. It's the oracles that were feeding the DeFi protocols that started these cascading liquidations. These centralized exchanges and some of the parties that got margin called, they shouldn't have been putting up all of these assets. Like all of these altcoins that they were putting up as collateral, that's why it was so bad. So I'm not saying that it was good in the sense that people got wrecked. I'm not saying it was good in the sense that it needed to be that bad. It just was a self-fulfilling prophecy because of how much leverage we had in the system. the extent that these offshore exchanges and Tether has fueled this as well. But it's good to clean that up. Hey, Zach, how quickly does Caleb and Brown deposit funds into your account? Are they reliable? So it's a wire transfer from your bank, and so it can take some time. It could take a day or two. Right? I've heard some people complaining that it takes a few days. That's the banks. It's not Caleb and Brown. Although it's very frustrating. I totally get it. I've moved crypto into there as well. And so if you wanted to move funds in there right away, just go to the new system. You can, move XRP and don't create extra taxable events in the process. But, for me, I already had XRP on Coinbase and I just zipped it over there. I had XRP that I made from trading the XRP meme coins, and I sent that to Caleb and Brown. And it's just instant. Now, as far as funding your account, they only do the wire transfers. So that can take some time. Yep. So just account for that. Gas is over $5 in Australia. Yeah, we're at $4 up in my neck of the woods. $4. And we just implemented the largest tax hike in our state's history. Just double down. Why not? Yeah. Sure. And a capital gains tax too. Because we're going to go get the rich. Don't get me started. Jeffrey says, Zach, I used your link for setup and for the credit card so you can get some free XRP, and so did I. Thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. And once again, wouldn't be able to do this without your guys' support. Whether you're just liking our content, sharing it out, using my links in our Discord group, however you support our cause, I just thank you so much. We just crossed over 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're over 350,000 on TikTok. I think I just hit 88 on Twitter, so we're approaching 100 over there on Twitter. So platform's well over 1 million. We're well on our way to 1 million. But we just did 150,000 on YouTube, and just no slowing down over here. And once again, I did this without any sponsors up until the last month when I added ITrust Capital. This is the first sponsor I've ever added to the show. So we kept the lights on by giving you guys the content that you enjoyed watching. And then obviously we tapped in the merch. I have a private group too. And then, there's a few other ways that we've added here, all of our affiliate links and resources. That's how I made my money until we just added ITrust Capital. And the main reason why I did that, you guys have been hearing me talk about it, is because the problem is that needs to be filled is people being able to invest their 401ks and IRAs in crypto. And so you can roll over your 401k, you can transfer your IRA over to iTrust today. You don't have to wait for the ETFs. You don't have to wait for an executive order from Trump for 401ks. You don't have to wait for Congress to pass a bill. Invest today. But seriously, from me to everybody listening to me tonight, thank you. I couldn't do it without your support. You ain't lying, Zach? No, sir. No, sir. I try to be as transparent as possible with you guys. On some topics, I have to back off. But I do try to do my best to share as much as possible. Now, we did get one more super chat snuck in here, and I think I'm going to wrap it up. Corey, thank you. Have an interview with the Black Swan Capitalists and ask them about their family friend who was supposedly a financial consultant to the royal family in Saudi Arabia and recommend XRP investment. Corey, I like that idea. Let's get a couple interviews going. I haven't done any interviews in a while. And so maybe on my way out, can you guys comment down below and let me know who you guys would like to see me pull onto the show next? And we'll go collab with them. And we'd love to do that. Black Swan Capitalists, I respect those guys a lot. And so we'll get them on the show. Let me know anybody else that we should pull. And we'd love to have them as guests. Absolutely. With that being said, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And I will see you guys tomorrow in the next update. Everything else is at my website, zachrector.com. God bless and have a great night. Thank you, everybody.